Welcome to Public Health Matters, where we talk about matters of public health. I'm joined today by Katie Lyon Pingree, and we're going to talk about mental health advocacy. Katie has a wonderful and beautiful story that she's going to share with us that will help us understand the importance of advocacy, as well as paying attention to our loved ones and knowing when we need to talk about getting help. So Katie, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I just want you to just introduce yourself. You're a mother, you're an advocate. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to be doing these things.
Yeah, so we lost our son, our middle son, Matthew. He was 18. He had struggled with mental health issues, suicidal, depression, anxiety, that kind of thing. He died of an accidental fentanyl overdose because he thought he had bought himself some heroin, but ended up being pure fentanyl, unbeknownst to him. So he was not, I believe, not actively trying to commit suicide, but he was in a mode because of his mental health of just looking for relief and, willing to take extreme risks to find some relief at the time that he passed away, which will be 4 years as of tomorrow.
So tomorrow is your, how does your family call tomorrow? Do you call it a celebration of memory? Because it's something that is going to be persistent for the rest of your lives as a family. Right.
I would say it's still an evolving process as far as how we view the day. We, at least my husband and I for sure, I think are still somewhat tiptoeing our way through the day. It's always a challenging day. What are we doing on that day? That's always the calculation. The first, since Matthew died only, a couple days before Christmas, I don't even count that first year in my mind. The first whole year, we didn't even put up a tree, and there was very little sort of celebrating going on. At this point, it's I'd say we're still at the phase of it's a day to survive. There's not a lot of memorializing, although this year is the first year I've thought about putting his picture up on the counter and lighting a candle. So I might do that. But, beyond that, we don't have a special term for it or anything.
Katie, I really appreciate your courageousness in having this conversation today. I remember when I met you, it was at the New Futures Advocacy event, and you were getting an advocacy award. And I'm holding the Purpose, which is the newsletter that comes out from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, and I see that you are here. And it says, Giving with Purpose, Finding Her Network for Good, Katie Lyon Pingree gives and speaks up to help families navigating mental health crisis. Can you tell me, what do you think when you see this and where you are today with respect to your situation, your family's loss? And that's why I say you're courageous. You're brave, to be able to do this and put yourself in this vulnerable space so that others can see that there is light.
Thank you. I am happy to, get some level of recognition, if only to have additional vehicles to do advocacy and to tell my story and, to support others. To me, it's all about the work. So the sort of extra level of attention of it all is still a little strange because it's just about, doing the thing, getting the work done, getting people the supports that they need, changing the system, really, so that it really works for people and not against them. So we set up a fund at the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, and it is through them that I learned about New Futures. and learned, oh, here's an organization that their whole thing is,
Yeah.
policy change and advocacy and things like that. So I had a meeting with them just last year. I mean, it's really only been a year I've been at this, to find out, what they do and how they do it. And I said, well, I have a story. I'm willing to share that story if I can, be of use to you and what you do. And that led to, testifying before the legislature a couple times on a couple of bills, before the Senate Budget Finance Committee. That was last year. And then, unfortunately, both of the bills that I was working with, neither one of them passed. So gonna do it all again next year.
Yeah. There's still victory in that. I know that it takes probably a number of iterations before some of these bills that we really feel are important to pass, for them to pass.
Yeah.
But there's still victory in that you've become a voice, right, for individuals that have had the type of situation that your family went through, and advocating for. Let's talk about the bill that the two bills that you were advocating for, so that those that are viewing us today on Public Health Matters will understand what that is, because maybe there's more voices that need to be added to your voice, so that there's a resounding noise about why this is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. So one of the bills is to create a permanent funding source in the state of New Hampshire for the 988 suicide crisis hotline. Because that used to be funded nationally, and then that changed, and it's now up to the states to find their own funding for their services. So that's one very important thing. And of course, the goal with that is so that people, when they call the suicide hotline, that they have somebody local on the other end who can support them through whatever it is that they need at the time that they need it. The other bill, and I know that they're tweaking some of the language with it for this upcoming session, was to work on getting insurance companies to pay for additional services, in-home services that they call wraparound services.
Right,
so that
right.
the ultimate goal is to keep kids in particular out of emergency rooms. Anybody going through a mental health crisis should never go to emergency room. At my point, it is. If only all it does is adds to the crisis. It adds to the trauma, because nothing's getting done. If all you need is a safe space, well, let's create that somewhere else. That's not going to add to the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So you put a lot of time, heart energy, love energy into this work. Where do you see this going forward from now? Because our legislative season is about to start again in January. Those bills will probably come back again.
Oh,
what
absolutely.
do you need? What do you believe that you need help with from others? Like, for instance, for some of our viewers that are watching, and for people to understand why this is a public health matters, because we do something that's called the Youth Risk Behavioral Survey with middle school and high school students. And that survey tells us different issues that young teens, are dealing with. And mental health is one of those. And some of the data that I looked at, I believe it was around 46% of, I'm trying to think, was it 46 or 52? May have been 52. We were talking about this a little earlier. It's a high number of youth that don't have someone to talk to. And that this is really important as far as behavioral health and mental health, because sometimes what people will try to do, somewhat sounds like what Matthew did, was to try and self-medicate so that they don't feel those things that are unpleasant for them. And it's a public health matter because we have quite a few individuals that may start out that way, and then they end up with substance use disorder because they're trying to cope with a mental health issue, because we just don't have enough providers and the services just aren't there, right? And so what do you believe you need help with from community members, from our legislators, from folks in public health?
Well, for sure, the more people, even if they haven't been personally touched by this, to express their support for the fact that this is an area that is so important, that has, ripples that can affect a lot of people, even if you don't have, a child or a family member that, is in the emergency room with a mental health crisis.
Right.
Ideally, our legislators, are doing what it is that the public wants them to do, and they're more likely to do those things if they know, oh, this is important to my constituents who have expressed their opinion. So, all the usual things, calls, letters, emails, expressing opinion, is a way to do it. I will also add New Future's website, newfutures.org. They have a lot of the bills that they are tracking and working on advocacy for on their website, and there's links to them, and you can vote on, or you can offer your opinion so that you send those opinions to your legislators directly from there.
Yeah. And they need to hear from us, right? And so one of the things that in New Hampshire, we have one of the largest legislatures in the state, in the country, aside from what other country is there? I think there's one other country that has a legislature as large as ours.
Oh, yeah.
And so most of our legislators, they're our neighbors. They are people that work with us, right? The small state, it's so close knit, right? And so our voices can really be heard at that level, but they have to hear from us.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you mentioned New Futures, because New Futures tends to help with advocacy support for public health as well. Mm-hmm. And so we follow them very closely. And when there's public health issues that we believe that we need to provide awareness and education on, because we can't lobby in public health. But what we can do is we can get the word out. And that's why I'm so glad that you're here to talk about your experience, to talk about the bills that you have been advocating for, and to talk about New Futures, so that the public also knows now, because the best way to get anything done is to get people to that state house, or to get them calling, or sometimes they send in emails, but I think the best thing would be if they could get a phone call or a postcard, something that's a little bit more personal, because they get so many emails, they may not get to our emails. But if they get a postcard or a phone call, I think that's really key. And the way that New Futures has their website set up, just as you said, you can vote right there. And believe it or not, they actually pull all that stuff down. I've been at some of the hearings where they actually will say how many votes or checks or responses that they got. That information does add up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's one really important thing to keep in mind, particularly with the House side, is that these are not, tend to not be career politicians. They are just regular people who just happen to be in that position. And so I remember talking to one representative at one of this, legislator breakfasts that I went to. And I said, he was talking about it, and I said, it's like drinking from a fire hose for you guys. It's just, there's so much information coming at them all at once that, they don't have a lot of expertise, first of all.
Right.
And second of all, there's a lot of competing voices.
Yes.
And so the more we can increase the volume on, the things that we feel are important, the more that, it helps guide their attention on what they need to be doing.
Exactly. And you know what? And the other piece about that is that you just don't elevate your voice, you actually show up. And I think that visibility is also what's so important as well.
Yep.
And so you've had a chance to go and actually speak to our legislators. So tell us a little bit about, what was that experience like for you?
Oh boy. Well, the first time I testified, I was so panicked. My watch kept screaming at me, your heart rate is too high.
Oh.
I'm like, I know. Thank you. It goes by so fast. I had my little prepared speech, like 3 to 5 minutes. Just really, it was just an overwhelming experience. But I managed to keep it together, and okay, we're gonna do it again. And each time I did it, it got a little easier. The Senate Finance Committee was, oh my goodness, because when I showed up, there were hundreds of people outside the the State House, inside the State House, waiting to testify. I mean, for that time, I waited for 8 hours before I even
Wow.
was able to
Yeah.
testify.
Yes.
And there were still people waiting to testify after me, because there were lots of things wrapped up into that budget. But yeah, it was a lot. So I guess that's the other thing, you know, as far as advocacy goes, is do it even if you're scared. You know, it's if you have that story to share, it's really important.
And that is, I mean, you've actually started a foundation.
Just a fund. It's
a fund?
Not a whole fund. Foundations come with a whole lot of other work.
Oh, okay. So tell us a little bit about the fund and how can we help with that? How can our viewers help with that as well? They actually say Katie's Foundation. Oh, it says Katie's Foundation Philanthropy Advisor. You actually have an advisor too.
So the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, you know, you can set up a fund, a donor-advised fund, which is what we have, and so we have a relationship person at the foundation that they're the ones actually, you know, sort of doing the back end work of where the money gets distributed. But you know, we have meetings and we say we would like to, you know, donate X amount of dollars to, you know, this, you know, place, community mental health centers or, you know, futures or things like that. So it's from their guidance that we are then taking the money that we've set aside.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they help direct it to the organizations or the agencies that are providing the mental health.
Based on their recommendations.
Yes, yes. This is awesome. And again, I'm going to just share this again. I'm not sure if we're able to get a big or a closer shot of that, but this is Matthew.
Yeah.
So tell us about Matthew.
Yeah, I realized I meant to bring his photo with me. That was one thing with all of the testifying. Each time I brought that picture that I had.
Yeah.
And would put it right on the desk so that the legislators that I were talking to would, you know, hopefully remember him.
Yes.
Yeah, he was definitely an amazing kid. You know, you know, the last several years, he was struggling. So, you know, it's always hard to know what was mental health struggles and what was, you know, teenage struggles. I always say, like, you know, he had the skills to become an astronaut or, you know, an FBI agent or, you know, something like that. He was very smart.
Yeah,
very
he sounds
smart.
like he was an amazing kid.
He was definitely an amazing kid.
And I'm quite sure, Katie, that he sees you as an amazing mom for what you're doing right now.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, and to know that the efforts that you're putting out will not only keep this memory of him alive, but will also help other parents that may have kids that might be struggling with mental health issues understand and know that there's someone like you that has got their back and that's pushing for legislation to help make services available for them in the time when they needed it. Now, we didn't have 988 at this time for you.
Well, it never really, just the way the twists and turns of our experience was, that wasn't anything that we utilized, because the first time really we knew that there was a problem with him was through the school. He had mentioned something to the school psychologist, and she called me and said he has expressed, you know, suicidal plan and intentions, and that sort of kick-started everything.
Right.
So we just went in a different door. You know, suicide hotline is just a different door to go into.
Right, right. Yeah. And all the schools are mandated. You and I have a similar experience. The outcomes were different. And that's why I love your courageousness and your braveness to be able to do this. Because again, you've put yourself and your family, you know, in a space of vulnerability to share this story. And I'm glad that you have the support, because I met your husband at this event that we went to as well, have that support. But there's probably many other families that have had similar situations, and the school is mandated to report. I received a call like that as well, you know, for my daughter, and it was tough. The going through the whole situation and how the services were, I didn't find them very helpful for me, for her. But we actually had a different outcome. But you've got me in your corner to help elevate, the need for the services, and to make sure that, not only do we have the 988 number, but then that we also have the service providers there as well, because this workforce is abysmal when it comes to being able to make these responses for, our kids and for adults as well. And then to make sure that the services can be covered by insurances, which is another one of those bills that you are going to be working on. So as we're talking about this, and you reminded me of my own experience, I'm sure that there are other families that have had similar experiences with the system. Mm-hmm. And so that's another part of the battle.
Yep. One other thing that came to mind is NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. I believe they have a pilot program of parent volunteers to go into the emergency rooms to be a support for the families that are currently sitting there with their kids. That's another thing that I'm hoping to get involved with, because just as a parent, just that sheer panic of having to make quick decisions, mm-hmm. the best you can, life and death decisions under duress when you're just in the state of panic, and you need all the support you can get. So that is a very good program that is currently out there. But
it exists right now.
It's brand new. I believe it's just in the last year that they have started that.
And are these individuals that are going to be in all of the emergency rooms? Like you can call them and they will show up there?
That's a good question. All I know is that the program exists. So we have to. I got to find out more.
To learn more about that, and we'll have to have NAMI come and talk a little bit more, because I think that is really important. Yep. Because you do feel alone. Yep. In that situation, and I think it's helpful because the whole family is affected by what happens. It may be one member of our family that's suffering from mental health, but the whole family is impacted by it. Yeah. Right? And then when there's a death by suicide, that also, it's that individual, but it is also the whole family that then has to recover. It's the whole family that goes through the grief of that incident that occurs. Mm-hmm. Right? And so we need to have those supports in place, for us. And so you're doing the advocacy work right now. You started this fund, which is amazing. What other supports do you have that are helping you throughout the day, every day, even as you do this? Because each time you tell the story, you're reliving it.
Right. Yeah. So I have an amazing husband. Awesome. I have 2 other amazing children. I have wonderful family, wonderful friends. I mean, just my community is wonderful. Nice. And what I'm finding also, that the more that I am seen and tell the story and people know what's going on, and am sort of in a state of vulnerability, that more and more people are coming out and making connections with me, and thank you so much, and here's the story here's the experience that I had that's similar to yours, and so it's sort of that networking through trauma, mm-hmm. Which is proving to be just amazing and so valuable. Yeah. But I mean, it's certainly, tomorrow's the anniversary. It's hard. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's every year gets, I hate to say it gets easier. I almost think of it like, when you cut yourself and it scars over, and every year just a little more scar tissue and a little more scar tissue. So, the original wound is certainly still there, right. But my ability to withstand it increases. Yes. And also doing the advocacy work. It gives my grief somewhere to go, somewhere positive, that I can take this energy that I have inside me and work with it and turn it into something that can, my pain can help others not have to go through that same pain, or support them when they are going through that same pain. Right, yeah. How can we, you know, to me, for my own life, advocacy is just like the tip of the iceberg of what I want to do. But you know, it's a big elephant to eat one bite at a time.
It is, right?
Where do you start? I mean,
yeah, and you have to take one bite at a time. But I'm so glad to hear that you have the community support, because that community resilience is what's going to continue to keep you strong so that you can continue this work and help others get into that community. The work, Katie, that you're doing also helps take away the stigma of all of this. It helps take away some of the guilt, some of the shame that people feel about this, the blaming that people may have as well. And so the more you tell your story, it helps people understand some of this is a part of life. Grief, I can't even, my mouth is not working. Grief, you know, death and sadness, all those things are a part of life, and it's how we continue to move forward, what you have done, and how you've invited others into sharing this story with you, and you're building community and resilience for those others as well. So that's why I say you are an amazing woman.
Thank you.
And the work that you're doing is amazing, and how you're allowing for us to share and be a part of, and actually allowing for ourselves to make space to be able to talk about it as well. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with recognizing that this is the reality.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with it? You know, because I can't change it. I can't go back and make things different.
Right.
This is what I have to work with.
Yeah, yeah, this is what it is. But you've made it something amazing. So thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate you
Thank you.
greatly.
Thank you. I appreciate you too.
Thank you. I'm Bobby Bagley, and I'm reminding you to have a great day today and a better day tomorrow. And I'll see you next time on Public Health Matters.